This is the NSF I-Corp, and this is me. I love to teach entrepreneurship. I teach entrepreneurship, and I believe it's very much about exploration, discovery, and so this quote goes really well for me, Edith Wilder. Today we're going to be talking about each other first. We're going to have a quick affinity exercise if we have the time. We've already missed 9 minutes. Oh, I got the wrong time. I have it from 1. It's supposed to be 12 o'clock. And then we're going to talk about what is the NSF I-Corp, asking the right questions. Then we're going to talk about the lean startup method, brainstorming, being agile, pivoting, the science method. Then we're going to be it's going to be your turn. You're going to be presenting your ideas and forming teams. And then the last part of the class will be doing business model canvases. We're going to be going through each one of and as many as we can and as quickly as we can. I want to get through everybody's business model just to have the first 10% completion of this project. For next class, you all are going to be presenting. You're going to be telling us about what customer discovery that you're going to be getting over the next week. Customer discovery is a big part of this class. And then you'll be presenting. Similarly to the presentations that those that have pitches today, except this one will have an extra an extra slide, which will be showing us what you discovered through your interviews. So this is, again, kind of the overview. Who are we? What's our, why are we here? This is a great crew, cohort. About the NSF I-Corp. About Innovation Within. Did anybody receive a invitation from Innovation Within? No, so I was hoping to get that done today. I was hoping you could all get on, but I'm going to show you examples of Innovation Within. And this is basically the platform that you will be using to keep track of your interviews. There's a audio sound to text dictation that comes with the presentation, with the platform. So you'll be able to record your interviews and then have it digitally dictated for you within the platform, and then see how your data reflects on this initial business model that we're going to come up with today. So we're going to be validating and invalidating various components of your business model via your interviews, which will be kept track of in this Innovation Within. You'll be forming your teams, and then we'll be doing the business model canvases. So who are we? I don't know if you can see this. This is me when we first immigrated to the United States when I was 3 years old. I feel like it's an important picture to show because my father was a repressed entrepreneur in a communist country. I come from the former Yugoslavia. And so he was so excited to come to the United States and be able to let his entrepreneurship freak flag fly, and really instilled into me from the very beginning that, in his words, nada, you are either used or you use. This is a capitalistic system. And so that's what I was raised with. I, of course, now believe that collaboration is the way, and it should be a win-win-win for everybody involved in our ecosystems. But I'm just telling you where I'm coming from, which was a direct reaction to a communist regime. Some of the reasons why I might be the person that's a good person to talk with you today is because I am an entrepreneur. I have a startup. It's more of a startup. I started it 9 years ago. It'll be 10 years next year. And I started it, I'm going to start from the beginning. Growing up in Indiana, Purdue University was the place to go. That's where I got my undergraduate. I got a construction degree from my dad because my dad didn't come to America for his daughter to be an artist, which is what I wanted to be. And I was a triple major. I studied art, philosophy, and construction management. And of course, as soon as I graduated from college, I wanted money, and I started working in construction, and I worked in construction for 20 years. I started out as a highway inspector. I also worked for a contractor as a contractor, and then I quickly moved into the train industry because of my natural activist leanings and environmental activist in particular. And so I started building trains. I built 9 train stations for the Bay Area Rapid Transit. Back in the 90s, I built 4 train stations for the Valley Transit Authority in San Jose. In the early 2000s, I realized that I was not happy and had a midlife crisis, went back to college, got my master's in fine arts so that I could be a teacher. I got it in the digital arts and new media program here at UCSC. And from 2009, when I graduated, I started my own business. I'm a media maker, filmmaker, and I also am a co-organizer of TEDx Santa Cruz. I teach the same class at Stanford. I am about to be the chair of the Arts Council of Santa Cruz. And this is my motto: life equals art, equals activism, equals love, equals environment. And that is me. So I'm gonna turn it over to Andrea Carafa, who is pictured here at the UN, perhaps. Oh, you're muted. Unmute.
Hi everyone, my name is Andrea. I'm also an immigrant, born and raised in Italy, moved to the US in 2014. I currently work as a resident entrepreneur, leading the Blackstone Launchpad powered by Techstars and teaching lean innovation and design at UC Santa Cruz. I funded 2 ventures in the past and did research and teaching in a number of places: Stanford, in Milan, at CERN and the European Commission, and work with a number of networks with a focus on innovating for society and for the environment, innovating to tackle the most pressing challenges that humanity is faced with. And now we have a new challenge, which is, of course, COVID-19, which I think is helping us rethink about our lives and about the social systems in which we live, including our economy and the way we build businesses. So I'm very excited to be here and to discuss and teach lean innovation from this new perspective, which we all have, which is stay home perspective.
Thank you so much, Andrea. We are very, very glad to have you with us. Okay, so now I want to hear from all of you. I'm going to stop screen sharing, and I'd like you to tell us your name. Whoops, I moved that too quickly. What interests you, if you have an interest in entrepreneurship, and what is a problem that you see out in the world right now that you have been thinking about a solution for? So what's your name, why you're taking this workshop, and what is a problem that is weighing on your mind right now? Kasim, would you like to start, please?
Yep. Hi everyone, my name is Kasim. I am a postdoc, a researcher at UCSC. So I study wildlife conservation and behavior. Most of my work has been focused out in Africa with large predators. So my interest in entrepreneurship is because there's a lot of similarities in designing a conservation project that's going to have some real impact and change, and sort of entrepreneurship in the sense that you need to design something that someone's going to use, and it has to be sustainable in terms of you can't just rely on external funding all the time. There has to be something which sustains it beyond this initial funding cycle. So I'm particularly interested in understanding how we can use entrepreneurship and product development to tackle some of the drivers of biodiversity decline, and help researchers do conservation research and tackle these drivers themselves. So one particular problem that I'm quite interested in is out in Africa. It's really important to understand what resources you have in an area in terms of wildlife numbers. And a lot of safari companies are interested in understanding that, but they don't have the resources to find that information out themselves. So there's a number of different ways that you can find out that information, but it takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of resources. So I'm quite interested in finding ways that you could tackle that in a sustainable way.
Great. Thank you so much. Jeff, you want to just give us a quickie?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, no problem. Hi, I'm Jeff Jackson. I'm the Director of IP Management at UCSC. I am largely here to see how this works, see what's going on, and mainly because we if you aren't familiar with IP management and tech transfer, largely what our job is people, our faculty, staff, students, postdocs, whoever, they invent things, and it's my job to help them figure out what to do with them. And so, our big problem, our big issue is taking technologies from the lab or the very early stage to an actual product that does some good in the world. That's called the gap, the valley of death, whatever you want to call it. As many ways as we can come up with to bridge that and coming up with creative ways to do that, I'm interested in seeing them. So yeah, I'm going to be kind of floating around in the background, probably submit some things and the like. But and if anybody's got any questions regarding intellectual property, I've been doing this for 12 solid years now, and a fairly sharp guy and think about very little else. So go ahead and let me know.
Thank you so much, Jeff. Linda.
All right. Can you hear me okay? Okay. So in my previous life, as Nada said, I was a practicing attorney. And to make a long story short, I encountered a series of corruptions. And I became a lawyer because I believed in justice, equality, all those things that when you are fresh-eyed and idealistic, that you want to do. So, but then I realized I wasn't happy being a lawyer, and I really loved creating things. I had my own little businesses when I was a teenager, but my parents, kind of like Nada, said, yeah, you're not going to take a risk, you're going to become a lawyer. But that's okay, because I've been able to come back to the things I love, including science and creating things. And my husband and I moved out here from Vermont in 2013, and I was very lucky to get a job right away at CSUMB. Oh, that's right. I had quit practicing law and went back to school and got my degree in ethics at McGill University. So when I moved out here to California, I took up.
We need to make it really quick.
Yeah. When we moved out here, I took up a place, found a place in Singularity University, and found out there is something that is of great need that nobody is providing, and that is the being sort of a honest broker, ethics, a peer review, independent review board for emerging technologies that not only just practice human subject review, but also consider things like social equity, social justice, things that
Linda, we're going to be pitching our ideas later.
Oh,
so
okay.
All right. We're just
so anyway, sorry. Yeah, okay. So anyway, glad to be here. Thank you.
You're awesome. Thank you.
Who next? Froze.
Since no one was selected, I'll just go. My name is Ananya. I'm an undergrad at UCSC. I'm currently studying psychology after switching my major 4 times from computer science, tech info management, cognitive science. So I'm currently very interested in social justice, entrepreneurship, and mainly social entrepreneurship. I want to address the environment, mental health, and animal rights, homelessness, education. So that's basically it.
You're muted, Nada.
ENVS, who are you?
Yeah, sorry, it just got the name of the computer itself. So I'm Italian originally. I've just finished my PhD in evolutionary biology, and I'm in the kind of a stage of a limbo where I'm trying to figure out what to do next. I'm really interested in conservation and of biodiversity and landscape. In particular, I'm interested on like the topic of biodiversity loss in cities. So I would like to see if there is like a space for a business or some kind of space for like helping people to help biodiversity, but at the same time achieving their aims.
Great, thank you so much. Chris, do you want to talk to us, or should we?
Sure. So just real briefly, the one thing I've become passionate about is productivity, and it comes from myself struggling with ADHD, too many things going on. And the product that we're building is really centered in advocating for the employee first, as well as providing some insight to the organization level. That is to say, many people, knowledge workers, just work way too many hours, and I want to bring back the 40-hour week. And so the tools that we're building are around that. And yeah, did I miss anything? All right.
Awesome, thank you.
I guess I can go next. I'm Ivy. Okay. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'm Ivy. I'm a third year undergrad at UCSC studying cognitive science. I'm mostly here because I always have like a lot of like project ideas with like just like ideating with my friend Ananya. And then like I just kind of want to bring them to like the next level to see what's possible. A problem that I've been like pretty passionate about ever since high school is like on how we can like mitigate the impacts of climate change. I feel like it's a topic I still don't know too much about, so I would love to learn from like some of you guys who are pretty knowledgeable in that area.
Great, thank you so much, Ivy.
Oh, okay. Hi, I'm Vicky. I'm also an undergrad student at UCSC. This is my last year and I study cognitive science. I guess one of the main why I was interested in taking this was because I just learned about this class like last Friday, and I'm really interested in entrepreneurship and just all the tech for social good kind of stuff. So one of the problems I would like to address is just helping immigrant families. So as like an immigrant, I kind of seen how my parents like struggled to get jobs, to kind of work their way around American life. So that's what I'm interested in.
Awesome, thank you so much. Gideon. Oh,
You're muted.
sorry, I called out Gideon, but then I saw he was eating. So
yeah, I'm chewing.
You want or you want?
I'll go. I'll go.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Gideon. Fourth year. I study CS game design, and I'm part of the Kazoom team. I'm the designer on the Kazoom team, so that's kind of the main reason I'm here. I don't think I have like an issue like off the top of my head that I have a solution for, but you guys all have really good responses, so I don't think I have something on that level. But yeah.
Okay, so I want to just introduce you, Gideon, to, am I muted? No, to Gideon, you and Charlize, and potentially Ananya and Ivy, but you and Charlize for sure are taking my independent studies class right now. And we are connecting UCSC students such as Gideon and Charlize with local businesses, in particular gifts, books, trading, trading company, the Pacific Trading Company, which is a dress shop, and Atlantis Fantasy World, which is a comic book novelty store. And so they are going to be, I was hoping you two would be looking at those in particular. We'll talk more about more about their kind of roles. But thank you, Gideon, for joining us. I really appreciate it.
Happy to be here.
Ariana, would you like to tell us what you're doing?
Hi, I'm Ariana.
You're muted.
Okay, can you hear me? Okay, cool. I'm Ariana. I'm a first year at UCSC, so I'm just starting out, just, you know, still bright-eyed and optimistic about a lot of things. So I'm currently a legal studies major, which can obviously change and probably will, or like probably add on double major or minor, but I'm still really open and curious to find out a lot more about entrepreneurship and just the business world in general. So I'm just here to kind of absorb and gain as much knowledge as I can.
Welcome, Ariana. Yay! Charlize, would you tell us about yourself?
Hi, I'm Charlize. I am a philosophy major, first year. In terms of personal interest, I'm very interested in trying to develop a new form of social media, but that's a whole other thing later. And then I'm part of Nada's Indie Studies class as well, trying to get some of these companies in Santa Cruz online. I guess I'm very curious about everything, so I'm here to absorb knowledge as well. And it's a pleasure to be working with you all.
I'm thrilled that you're with us, Charlize. All of you, this is great. I'm very excited. Okay, thank you, everyone. I believe that was it. Did I miss anybody? No? Okay. I'm going to launch into the next part of the class, which is to talk about just a little bit about entrepreneurship. And so the intention for the boot camp, this is one of my favorite quotes: the best way to predict the future is to invent it. And this is very important to me because I believe that entrepreneurship is needed tremendously at this moment, particularly in response to the COVID crisis that we're all having, that the entire world is in. And I've felt like entrepreneurs are the heroes of the day right now. They're the ones who are going to help save as many companies that are out there, save as many livelihoods, and I'll continue telling you why. The intention for this bootcamp is to come up with a business idea, to form teams. Then you're going to learn about the business model canvas, which is one method to kind of grappling with what your business model is. You're going to learn how to do customer discovery. You're going to brainstorm and fill out the canvas for the business idea. You're going to present the outcome of your collaboration. This is going to happen next week and the following week. And by the third week, we're hoping that you're going to develop a pretty good business pitch deck. And that pitch deck will be what you apply to the NSF core and be accepted into the NSF I-Corp program, which is a minimum $50,000 fast track grant specifically for customer discovery. The process: there are no facts. We have no facts here today. Whether you're in your lab or your building, what we're creating are assumptions. And so you're going to be building a business model using 9 different assumptions. This business model canvas is how we articulate our hypotheses. Again, there are other canvases that we could use, but in this case, we're going to use that one. We're going to use customer development to test those hypotheses. We're going to use innovation within to keep track of what we've learned, and we're going to expect that many of our initial hypotheses are wrong. Iterations and pivots are expected and actually celebrated. So the mindset: we are hypothesis testing. We are not executing. Everyone that joins the team will have to be an active participant. It would be great if you all could get 10 to 20 customer contacts in the next 2 weeks. If you were taking this class, let's say when I took my boot camp at UC Berkeley, they were still expected within 4 days to have 30 interviews. The NSF I-Corp, we're going to learn a lot about the NSF I-Corp, but something just for you to keep in mind is that if you do get admitted into their program, you are going to be expected to have 100 customer interviews within 7 weeks. That's 100. The NSF I-Corp privileges quantity over quality. I am going to ask you to go for quality in this class. It's not so much that you do as many interviews as possible, but that you do strategic interviews with specific people that will be able to answer the questions that you have hypothesized as your business model. And please bring your sense of humor to it. Otherwise, it could be really sufferable. I know. Okay, so what is entrepreneurship? Anybody want to take a gander?
It's a sickness.
It's a sickness. It's a disease. Yes, it is. Thank you for that. I think it's a really interesting word. It actually means undertaker in French. It is the between taker. But in the United States and in the English language, entrepreneurship is not the place where you go when you're dead, or the person who helps you along. It's actually the person that takes on the risk. Entrepreneurs are the ones that look out at the world and they see a problem that no one else sees. And then they actually make a solution to the problem that no one else sees. Steve Jobs was probably one of the greatest entrepreneurs. I mean, we can argue for days about it, but he's a biggie in the entrepreneur world, y'all could say. And he saw the smartphone revolution lacking. He felt like, if I've got this real estate in my pocket with this gizmo should be able to get me everything that technologically I'm able to do. So what did he do? He created the iPhone. The smartphones prior to the iPhone did not play music. They did not take pictures. They did not video. They did not do all the things that we come to for granted that the smartphone does. And he saw that as a problem. He wanted a tricorder in his pocket, and that's what he made. And so he's the person who had the capacity and the willingness to develop something like that. They say that there's 1 in 5,000 in the general public that's an entrepreneur. I feel very strongly that we can change that and make it a higher number of entrepreneurs by teaching it earlier and earlier. One of the things that I didn't tell you is I do teach this class to middle schoolers and high schoolers around the world. And I'll be honest with you, it's those kids that make my college students have to work harder. We can talk later. Well, we'll talk about that in just a second here. So it's crucial to be creative. You cannot be an entrepreneur if you're not a creative person. And in my opinion, that means you need to think like an artist. Innovation starts by intimately observing your customer. This is a maxim also if you think about design thinking as another kind of process by which people start businesses or discover if their business idea has any potential to be successful. And so what we're going to be doing is using our customer discovery, our trying to understand our segmented market as closely as possible to truly understand how do they feel about this problem, what is the whole problem, so that we can then create a startup that delivers a whole solution. So what's the definition of innovation? Does anybody want to join on that one? What is it to be innovative? I'm going to jump ahead. So it's a simple thing. It's to introduce something new. It's a new idea. It's a new method. It's a new device. And we also need to think about empathy. Like I said, the class is really embedded in customer discovery. The only way that you can truly do customer discovery is to empathize with them. And so what does empathy mean?
Empathy is when you're able able to understand the emotions of others and literally feel it yourself and respect it.
Yes, thank you so much. That's really good. Ananya? Was that Ananya or Ariana?
Ananya.
Thank you. And so, yeah, the classic definition is to walk in someone else's shoes. It's the feeling that you understand and share in another person's experience. You're not sympathizing them. You're not feeling sorry for them. You're feeling with them. You're sharing with them the feelings, which Ananya so lovely articulated. And then what is creativity? Anybody?
Unleashing your inner child.
Ooh, yes, that's great. Exactly. We're all creative when we're kids. What the heck happened to us? School, perhaps?
I was beaten out of this.
It's the use of imagination or original ideas. And instead of this being in an artistic work, we could say an entrepreneurial idea. And then we're going to be collaborating in this class. We're going to be collaborating in a lot of ways. And so what's the definition of collaboration?
Working together towards a common goal.
Yes, exactly. Thank you. It's working together to create something, and it's to work jointly with somebody. And I have a lot I can tell you about collaboration. This is something I've studied for many, many years. But in a nutshell, basically, if you're going to be co-founding in this class a business idea, it's very important that you come up with your business thesis together. You come up with the seed of what your idea is about together. The more you can co-create the essential qualities of your business, the more you will be a collaboration. People then are invested. So what are some traits of creative thinkers? Because as an entrepreneur, you have to be a creative thinker. So you have to learn from failure. You have to make. You have to have creative confidence. And I believe you have to have empathy. So in the lean startup world of Silicon Valley, it is a badge of honor if you have failed. In fact, they expect you to fail at least 2 times before you have that third startup stick. It's a badge of honor. This is very difficult for other countries such as South America, Brazil. I know in particular, you do not fail. You fail, you are a failure. Here we want to fail. We want to fail as quickly as possible. We want to learn from our failure and we want to move on. And we don't want to forget what we failed about, what made us fail. And that's all about validating and invalidating. I was having a conversation, I think it was with Vicky, about how, or maybe it wasn't, I'm sure, but it was just recently, we were talking about how you learn more when you find an interview, when you're talking to somebody, you're doing your customer discovery, and you actually are invalidated. Your assumption is invalidated. You will learn so much more from that customer interview than if you have somebody just say, oh my God, this is great, fabulous, I love it, make me one. Right? And what did you learn from that? Well, yeah, you validated that there you've got one customer, but what did you really learn from that? You have to make, you got to do it. You got to just throw it up there. Imagine it as a living thing that we're starting at 10%. This is just like a ball of clay. And that through this process, we will be sculpting and creating, hopefully, a successful startup idea. Through that, you have to be confident. You have to believe that your ideas are valuable, that the world needs your ideas. The world needs us as entrepreneurs now more than ever. And so having that confidence, and the only way that you're going to be able to have that confidence is by either having an innate, you're born with it or raised with it, you've got that confidence, or it's through experience, failing, learning, creating again, iterating, and the more and more you do that, the more you will say, aha, I get it. I do have some good ideas. And then empathy. This is just if we were going to do a design thinking class, this is the process that the design thinkers do. They start with the empathy. They start with what matters to the person. What is that problem? They make a definition of what those needs are of that problem. They brainstorm, they come up with as many different creative ideas to solve the problem, they prototype it, and then they test it. The thing about the beauty of design thinking is you can do this in any order. If we overlaid the startup methodology that we're going to be doing in this class, empathy, in my opinion, would be the value proposition. The definition would be the customer segments. The ideation would be the different hypotheses that we're going to be doing for each part of the business model canvas. The prototype would be the actual business model canvas and a minimum viable product. And then testing would just be making that prototype and getting it in front of as many potential customers as possible and getting their feedback on it until you feel like you've got something that there's a big market for, or at least enough of a market to cover your costs. This is just a quick review of the concepts. All of this is in our Google Drive. We're going to be brainstorming a lot with each other, just something to keep in the back of your mind. For optimal brainstorming, we're suspending judgment. In fact, the crazier the idea, the better. We're going for quantity, not quality. We will be able to analyze and sift through our ideas later. But right now, we want to just open up our creative think heads, caps, and just, you know, throw it all out there. No judgment. No one, in fact, the more you can throw out, the better. Okay, so before I launch into what is a startup, I just want to check in with everybody, see if there's anybody waiting in the waiting room. We're missing a couple more people. I don't think they're going to be able to make it. I actually emailed them, and so I guess not. Any questions so far? Before I go into the actual business model canvas, what I want to do is I want to bring up the innovation within. Did anybody watch the videos that I sent to you? Anybody? I sent you 2 videos. One video was I think it was the Steve Blank talking about what the business model canvas is, describing each one of the 9 modules. And then the other one was these 2 guys that talk about how to do an interview. And so I highly recommend you all watch that. We don't have time to watch it in class, but we'll go over what is a good interview technique. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you innovation within. So this is, I hope you all can see it. This is it right here. This is a business model canvas that was created by a student last quarter. Her company is called YeTV. And she did one of the best pitches that I've ever had the privilege to see. And I actually copied it, and it's in the Google Drive in the first presentation folder. And so you'll be able to watch that. She did an outstanding job, and I think that she's a good person for you all to see how she worked it. So this is her business model canvas. She worked over this over 10 weeks. So you can see over the week the things that she discovered as she was going through the process. And then she's starting to validate. These green things are validations. And I'm going to show you in a second how she validated that. And then this is her last business model canvas here that she came up with. Over here is each team that we had. And what I want to do is I want to show you, why am I not seeing hers? Hold on one second. There it is. So here is where you do the interviews. So you have these icons up above here. So this one is the canvas. It looks like it. This one is the interviews. And so she interviewed, for instance, this person named Lyle Troxel. She uploaded the audio tract into the transcription, and then it automatically put her it digitized her conversation. Now it looks to me like there wasn't anything really validated in her interview with Lyle. So let's take a look at Eric Chairman. So what you can do is you can go through your transcription and start categorizing them, as this was a general, here we go. So she had some general insights from this interview. Nowadays, it's so much more democratic. You can post your movie on YouTube and get 10,000 hits. You can start getting money from YouTuber before you get 10,000 hits. Get you YouTube studios that you can. I'm not quite sure what she got there, but there was some general insight that she was able to, that was helpful for her. Here's a new feature that she discovered through talking with him, that he was talking about this, he was actually talking about the Osmo. It's an Osmo, not an Osborne. An Osmo camera that rotates around, and it gives you 4K pictures. So she's thinking about maybe her, she's actually got a YouTube channel that needs this new feature. Anyways, these features allow you to then connect to your business model canvas. Here we go. And you can filter through, so I'm going to go back to the business model canvas for just a second. And you can actually filter through your linked the parts of your interviews that then correspond to your business model canvas. I have a little movie that will help you go through step by step on how to do this. I think we were gonna have to add one more class because I wasn't able to set this up. I thought it would be done for you all today, and I was hoping we could just jump into it. It may have to happen tomorrow. So as soon as I get that, I'll let you know. This is also where Andrea and I will be able to give you feedback on it. This is also the exact same platform that they use at the NSF I-Corp in fall, and I'm pretty sure they'll be using it into the future. They used to have another one called Launchpad Central, but that has gone under. That was actually a program that was funded and founded by Steve Blank. Oh, one more thing. Shoot, I forgot to show you. Another beautiful aspect of this is you have videos for all of the entire process that Steve Blank puts you through. It can help you, what is a value proposition? It will have you, Steve Blank will go through it and tell you exactly what these are. All of these you can find on YouTube as well. And I have, but it's just easier for you because they're all together here on YouTube. You have to put them together pretty well. So that is innovation within. I think there's going to be probably some need for explanation, but we'll get that when we can. So that is that. The innovation within is very important to me. I spoke with Andrea about this before the class started. One of the biggest parts of the boot camp of the discovery process is these interviews, and being able to analyze your interviews is probably one of the most important things, and it is the most difficult thing. So this class is based on the NSF I-Corp Lean Startup methodology, and it begins with the science method. So anybody out there, what do you start with when you have your science method?
A hypothesis.
Thank you. That's what I was looking for. That $12 word meaning question, or it's not the problem. It's a question. The hypothesis. It's a guess. Excuse me. Guess. It's a guess. And so each one of your modules on your business model canvas is starting with a guess. After you have the guess, what do you do next?
Oh, you start gathering data.
That's right. You have to make an experiment. Mm-hmm. And with that experiment, you gather data. And then what do we do with the data?
You analyze it.
Exactly. Thank you. We analyze it. And then after we analyze it, what do we do?
We come up with potential solutions and approaches
Right.
and solutions.
So what I'm looking for is you analyze it to see if your hypothesis is wrong or right, right? So it starts with the hypothesis. You make an experiment. You gather the data. You analyze that data. And then you look at your hypothesis and say, do I need to iterate my hypothesis, or is my hypothesis validated and we can move on? So that's exactly what this class is about. I'm going to tell you a quick little story. About 20 years ago, the NSF, the National Science Foundation, was experiencing what Jeff Jackson talked about, this valley of death. We have these incredible researchers developing incredible solutions in laboratories and that are unable to get those solutions to market. And the NSF said, well, what are we going to do about this? How do we get scientists to think like entrepreneurs? Because scientists aren't entrepreneurs, generally speaking. That's changed a lot in the last 20 years, I think. And so they looked around and they was like, well, what are we going to do? We're going to use this Steve what's his name? Oxenbotter. I can't remember his name. Anyway, the guy who came up with the BMC. And then Steve Blank was one of the people that used that tool as quickly as possible through the Stanford B School. And so they approached Steve and they said, Steve, can you help us with this? And Steve said, sure, I've got a solution. And he started this program. It was a 10-week program, or no, actually it was a 7-week summer program. Sue Carter, who is the director of SEED and the provost of Rachel Carson and the boss of me and Andrea, she took his class several times, actually. And during that 7-week, you were expected to do 150 interviews, because what we know of the science method is the bigger the data set, the what? Exactly, the better. The better, the more data you have, the better you can analyze it, the better you can say, I really do have some truth here, right? Because if you don't have a big enough data set, what happens? You can have outliers. Maybe the first person you talk to and do your interview, that person might actually be an outlier, completely off the chart. They are nothing normal. And so you decide to change your whole business model canvas because of this bad luck by having picked the wrong person and not understanding that actually you need to have a really large data set to fully be able to say, yes, this has been validated. And just something for you all to know, in general, customer discovery never ends. Even after you execute, even after you build a billion-dollar company, you will continue doing customer discovery. This is something that you will do for the rest of your life. And I'll also tell you this, you'll probably use this for all parts of your life. When you decide that you want to go to grad school, when you decide you want to start a new career change, you will be able to use customer discovery as a tool to figure out, are you going in the right direction? Because people don't ask enough questions. And you as an entrepreneur need to get into that mindset. I'm going to ask as many questions as possible. And of course, they have to be the right questions. And get answers from people. It's unbelievable. People love to talk. They love to tell you, especially if it's something dear and near to their heart, maybe it's their career. Nobody asks them. And so you as a student, calling up people, making connections and saying, hey, I'm a student taking this bootcamp class for the NSF I-Corp. Do you have 15 minutes to talk with me? 99% of the time, people are going to say yes. And it's probably the hardest thing for people to do, is to reach out and ask somebody. And yet, once you start doing it, you're not gonna believe how easy it is. And that you could ask just about anybody on my LinkedIn profile, on our shared LinkedIn connections, and you will be able to find the industry expert that will be able to answer the exact question that you're asking. And so
just wanted to say that we have half an hour left, so I wanted to make sure that we have time for the teams.
That's right.
For your presentations.
So anyways, that's about it for me. And you've got the innovation within. We've got the okay, I'm gonna just zip through this really quickly, and then I'm gonna turn it all over to you all. I just want to quickly help you understand the business model canvas. This is a Steve Blank presentation that's in your Google Drive. So basically, we used to think that startups were just like big ones. I bring up the Dutch East India Company because this was the first corporate papers, and they were colonizers, thinking about that from an ethical point of view. Harvard teaches a very different thing. You do a business plan. You don't contact your customers first, you just make the plan, then it's war, then Michael Tyson comes and punches you. And then, anyways, we go to this, here it is. This is the business model canvas. We start with the value proposition. The value proposition is, what are you building and for whom? What is the problem or the need? How are you gonna satisfy it? It's not about your idea or product, it is all about your customers. That is who it's about. And then, what about your technology? Don't worry about it. Nobody really cares. They just want to make it work and solve their problem. The customer segments are, who are they and why would they buy? For this, you're going to need to know their geographic, social, demographic, psychographic understanding. This is where empathy comes in. Who are your customers and why would they buy it? Hold on one second. I think we've got Gideon is back on. Okay. So who are they? What's their position? How do they buy? Discretionary, blah, blah, blah. You'll read all of this, draw a day in the life. That's something that I ask my younger students to do. This is actually a goal avatar. This is, understanding what books do they read, what are they magazines, where do they get their sources of information. There's all kinds of things you need to find out about your customers. Then channels. Channels is kind of a misnomer. This is not the social media channel. This is actually, how do you deliver your product, your value proposition to your customer? Is it an internet? Is it a brick and mortar store? Fourth is the customer relationships. How do you keep and grow your customers? This is where the almighty sales funnel comes into play. There's different sales models for the physical or for the web. Awareness, interest, consideration before they'll purchase it. Then you have, how do you keep them? Loyalty programs, product updates, customer satisfactions, customer call-ins. You want to watch your attrition. You don't want to lose your people to competition and know as quickly as you can what their differentiator is that's making your people leave to them, and then change your product to make it better. And then how do you grow it? Referrals is the golden thing. Blah, 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 blah. Revenue streams, how do you make the money? Do you get cash? If it's an internet product or service or app, how do you get that money? You need to have an e-commerce, you need to have PayPal, you need to have, and I know in Colombia, for instance, nobody has a credit card, but they have debit cards. It's that kind of thing. How are they going to pay you? Key resources are what are the most important assets that you need to build your product. Key partners could potentially be suppliers that are one of your key resources. Then you have key activities. And then last but not least, the cost structure. What are your costs and expensive? So they're all hypotheses. We're checking it. We're doing it through our science method and our guessing and our customer development. And it's all there for you. And there. Okay, so anybody want to go first with their pitch? Because we're going to make teams now. Chris?
I knew you were going to push me out there. So as I recall, this is a mini pitch, 2 minutes, and you wanted 3 things. Can you just review what those 3 things are?
Sure, I'm going to bring it up really quickly. What I need to know is, who's your team? What's the business thesis? And let's go here. I have a drive where everybody put their things. So what's your business thesis, Chris?
My business thesis is that as a society, we're not as productive as we can be. That there are too many distractions in this digital world with all these different communication capabilities. And it's causing us to work longer and longer hours and not have a work-life balance. And as a result, we're just not productive at any amount of work time. And so my thesis is that we can improve productivity and bring back that quality of life, and at the same time, make companies more profitable.
Great, excellent. And so one of the things that I was hoping we could do is create a, I'm gonna bring up the actual,
You can bring up my pitch deck if you want.
Oh, you have it? Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, okay. So let's get, where is Chris? There it is, priority. Okay. Okay, so here it is. It's a AI-driven productivity optimizer for the digital workforce. Bravo, very well done. The business thesis, it's got, Priority is an automated activity tracker which increases productivity for digital workers from consulting firms to enterprise companies. All right. Chris, are you looking for anybody to join your team?
Not at this point.
Okay, great. Who is looking for people that to join the team?
And who wants to join a team here? Maybe not everybody has an idea and has a team. Okay, so we have.
Okay. We're gonna go now with, if you wouldn't mind, Fuse. Okay. So Fuse is a mobile event-based networking application geared towards connecting individuals based on priority interests. Nice. Here's their business thesis. Fuse is a mobile application that connects professionals based on high-ranking interests. Event attendees check into an online event on Fuse's mobile platform. An algorithm sorts attendees into lists based on interests which individuals view in alignment with their priority interests. This enables event goers to connect with each other based on compatibility and retain relationships. It streamlines the networking process for virtual in-person events and enables people to connect through similar interests in engaging and efficient ways. All right, Ananya and Ivy, thank you for that. Are you looking for anyone to join your team?
We're currently looking for people who can help us develop the back end.
Great, okay. We'll keep that in mind. That was Fuse. How about Project Grow? Gada and Kasem?
Yeah, Kasem.
Kasem.
Yeah, so our idea was for a platform to connect businesses that have open spaces with urban gardeners. So it was based on a problem we had where we were trying to find a space to grow things and we couldn't find it in Santa Cruz. So yeah, we want to connect people looking for that space with businesses who have empty or disused spaces, and we were thinking about doing it through like some sort of peer-to-peer website, which makes it easy for businesses with that space to connect with people. And in that way, they can make some extra money and showcase their eco-friendly credentials. So by making this green space, it helps improve biodiversity in urban areas because it creates these microhabitats for species. And at the same time, it helps urban gardeners to get sort of their and grow things.
This is an excellent business thesis. Thank you. Okay. Are you looking for people?
No, I don't think so. Not at the moment.
Okay. Next up, we've got Linda.
Oh, okay. I have to unmute myself. Sorry, got to unmute myself.
You're on mute.
Oh, I am unmuted?
Yes.
Oh, oops, okay. So this is an idea that I'm looking for a public-private collaboration. When you think about a lot of the tech companies, you think about Google, you think about Facebook, and you think about some of the spectacular moral and ethical failures that they have gone through and experienced, they need an external peer review process. So much of business is focused on the bottom line, making a profit at the cost of everything else. Now, an institutional review board is just for medical, has generally been for human subject protection, but we need to expand the scope. You know, how do businesses apply ethics and values? What are they doing for the planet? What are they doing? Have they incorporated ethics into their technology and into the design and life cycle of the product? You know, are they providing their workers with equity? And I think that one of the things is that COVID-19 has driven home is that we've had these big gaps in our social safety, in our safety network for individuals. So this, I mean, it's a pretty simple idea. It's creating a certification process. It is creating an honest broker where people would have to sign non-disclosure agreements, but would come in and review how technology companies are doing, whether they are off the ground or right from the get-go in the startup.
All right. So Linda, you also have a the business model canvas. I want to just go through this really quickly as an example for the rest.
Okay.
So in your okay, here we go. In your value propositions, what we have is neutral judgment, public trust, authentic judgment, diversity, transparency, trustworthiness, fairness, equity. These are all the value propositions that you would be delivering to your customer segment, building an intellectual community and allies, elevating humanity to nobler causes. Your customer segments would be the CEO, the board of directors of a nonprofit or for-profit, ethics and compliance officers, department heads, marketers for social responsibility, California Division of Business Development, women on the board, and lobbyists.
Well, yeah, you know, so in fairness, you helped me draft this up. Thank you.
Sure, no problem. So what we need to start thinking about is how old are these people? What are their demographics? Are they college educated? Do they have, you know, what kind of capacity do they have? And so in your customer segments, we need to start really thinking about what do these people look like? What does that CEO look like? What does that marketer look like? And are they the same kind of strata of some social demographic, or are there, you know, within that some various segments? Going down to your channels, the way you would be able to deliver this accreditation or certification would be through meetings, workshops, a website, blogs, films. This would be how you would be able to deliver it. Customer relationships would be through your personal relationships, having some kind of weekend workshops, papers and presentations, websites, ethics, public relations, mentorship, Twitter. Twitter would be one of many social media platforms. Then we go over to your revenue streams. Because this would be basically a workshop or a certification, you would be in some ways either charging by the hour, $750 to $1,000 an hour, to contracts, which would then have their specific costs or their specific value in them and what the deliverables would be in that. Your key resources would be the experts, the lawyers, the non-disclosure agreement. The lawyers would have to make up those non-disclosure agreements, your trademark. There's some IP here, intellectual property.
Right.
Key activities would be the networking, creating the website, publicizing these articles, creating and executing social media campaigns and fundraising. Many people are going to have research and development in the key activities. Then you have your different key partners, the government, the school, various institutes, and then your cost structure is basically all of your key resources, your key activities, and your key partners. What are all of those costs? And many times your channel will be involved in your cost. And so all the costs here need to be less than your revenue streams. You need to be able to have a certain number of customers that will be able to pay that $750 or $1,000 an hour, so that in the end, when you get all of your revenue at the end of the year, you're actually making more than what it costs for you to be at the end of the year. Thank you so much.
Can I jump in and say something real quick?
Oh, please do.
So I'm actually interested in this area because the data that we're collecting from all our users is pretty invasive, and taking this employee first, being the advocate for the employee, we need to establish this responsible use of this data and protect the employees from the employer in terms of, yes, we're going to share some data with the employer. What data does it make sense to do that? And I think that's it's critical to our success, because the employees need to be willing to trust us with this data. And even, I don't know if there's a certification for this out there, or, well, then maybe that's part of the opportunity, is that if we can go, hey, we're turbo certified, then that helps us to gain traction in the market. And I would be happy to be one of your customers in this exercise to talk to.
Thank you. That would be wonderful.
You two have much in common. I'm very glad you can meet each other. And I want to ask Jeff, if you don't mind, if we go through yours.
Yeah, I'll also add with Linda, since we were talking about it. Linda, I would suggest that it is my job to help you. And if I didn't, you could complain to my boss, Scott Brandt, about it.
Okay.
Let's connect offline and talk about what you want to do, because I think there's something we can work on. And I'd say reaching out to arts and humanities has been a major focus of our office the last few years. So
I think that would be fantastic.
So let's set up a time next week to talk, and that'd be great. Yeah, let's go through mine. It's fun, and I'm kind of working my way through it.
Yay! All right, thank you.
Yep.
All right. I'll make sure to get your email from Nada.
Oh yeah.
I'm easy to find.
Okay. Yeah. I'm sure.
Yeah.
Okay, Jeff, tell us about Incubating Crow.
Yeah, so it's an incubating CRO. A CRO is a contract research organization. And our tagline is we do real world low stakes market tests of research products. So can you go to the next slide? So institutions like ours, I'm generally the customer here, often have a lot of ready to go research tool inventions. You can think about CRISPR and Cas9 out of Berkeley. That's a household name by now. But they don't know their market potential. You can make, for example, a DNA sequencing library really cheaply and effectively, but nobody really knows it's out there. It's not there. There's not a place. So the idea is you would license these inventions to the incubating CRO, who would then manage the sales of the projects and the services that are based on these inventions. And the idea being that if it takes off, great. You can then spin that out into a new company, or the incubating CRO can handle it. Alternatively, if it doesn't work out, it kind of just sits there and you haven't lost much. So there's a lot of pluses and moving parts to it. So it's a fun thing I'm futzing around with, and it's nice to use this system to try and beef up my thought process on it.
Oh,
Fabulous.
that's great.
Okay.
Yeah, that's really good.
I'd like to go back to Fuse, if that's all right. Could we use you as an example?
Yeah, please.
Okay, so what I'd like to do is create, I want to go through together in the last 11 minutes their business model canvas. And the reason being is that this will then help you fill out your own business your own business canvas. And what I'd like to do is actually meet with all of the different teams and make sure that, I think we can bang one out in 20 minutes, no problem. So the way the class is kind of set up is we're supposed to be having our kind of our first business model canvases, and then you're going to go out and validate or invalidate through your customer discovery. Next Sunday, you are going to give us the same presentation that you are today, except there will be one more slide, and that slide will be an overview of the customer discovery insights that you've had in the last week. And then the same thing goes for the final third week. Andrea is available, and I'm seeing them maybe being more useful, Andrea, a little bit later on in the process after they've started. Or how do you envision it, Andrea?
Yes, so I think what we can do is set up time during the week so that you have worked on your business model canvas, done a few interviews, and then we can meet and I can help you and guide you and give just feedback. So with me, you're learning more by doing. And that's really the core of this methodology and this kind of boot camps and classes. These are experiential, so we learn by actually doing it.
Okay.
I will follow up on that and schedule with you guys.
Okay, so Ananya and Ivy, what would you say is the gift that Fuse will be giving their customer segment? What is the pain that you are relieving? How are you relieving that pain?
So basically, whenever you enter a networking event or space, you go away with maybe like hardly any connections that have the same interests as you, or maybe can like combine you or connect you to other people who are in your field or industry. So one thing we wanted to target is at virtual events, like because of the COVID epidemic, we would be able to rank lists of people based on select interests that are provided for each event. And people would be able to connect based on the priority of those lists. So there would be a rank of number 1 priority, number 2 priority. The people with those same values would then be priority 1, 2, 3, so on, so forth. So what that allows people to do is connect based on an actual drive or interest and be able to connect with their network as well on the mobile interface.
So how about affinity connections? So affinity connections, connecting people and their affinities during digital networking events.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Would that be good?
Yeah, that sounds good.
All right. And then, all right. So what is the customer going to get with this affinity?
Basically, what we want people to draw away from is having partners or people to collaborate with, or even friends in the industry that are able to connect with them based on actual interests, not just like, oh, we're all at the same networking event, might as well connect. So it's more target driven. It has more efficiency. You're able to create more out of it.
Okay, but when you say create more, are you talking about relationships?
Yes.
Okay, so this is a relationship building. This is the gift.
Tinder for professionals, not Bumble.
I like
it so well.
I like that.
I'm gonna write that right now because I love it. Now, I've never used Tinder, but I love the platform. Like, just in theory, I love it. And so
we want to do it better than Bumble, basically.
Great.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So Tinder for professionals. I'm just putting that down there because it's a great little tagline. Who are your customers?
Anyone every industry professional.
Yeah, that's a lot, and it's
How
not
do you
the
target
whole
it?
world. People that
Like,
are going to these digital events, right?
right. So virtual event goers?
So are they professionals?
Yes.
So industry professionals, because of various industry professionals. Yeah.
Exactly.
And would you say they were 30 to 50? Are they 25 to 40? What are you thinking?
I'd say about 18 plus.
Okay, so how many 18-year-olds do you know that go to networking events?
Quite a few. There's Built by
Really?
Girls. Yeah, starting now.
All right,
Yeah.
so let's do 18 to 25. And maybe you have another segment which would be like 26 to 40.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you're actually going to have, so you're going to have the industry professional that's starting out, and then you'll have the like mid-career maybe, and maybe you'll even have a ladder career.
Exactly.
So that
there are
could
a few
be,
facets to this, including mentorship, and we wanted to also include being able to make this a business-to-business model as well, where people or like companies like LinkedIn, Eventbrite can plug it into their own platforms. So
great. How are you going to get to your people? What is the channel? How are you delivering this?
Hey, Nada,
yes?
I had one suggestion. Perhaps another group you might want to look at are the people who put on these networking events, conferences, whatever. You know, I had a conference that I loved that was recently canceled, obviously, but having something like this for that affiliated with the conference would be tremendous, and it'd be far better than the thing that they provided to us.
Okay, so you're saying that there's several customer segments here. There's the professionals that go, and then there's the conference event planners. So that would be perhaps, you know how Google, we're the user of Google, but it's really the advertising marketers that are paying Google.
Oh, okay.
So we have two different kinds of the user and the actual user that's the payer. So you could see how your customer segments are starting to coalesce into various categories. What would be the channel that you would deliver this application?
Virtually.
So
it would be virtual. It would be Facebook, blog posts, ad-driven, whatever else. Basically targeting
internet.
any virtual, yes.
So it would be website. Would it also be an app?
Yes, mobile app as well.
Okay. So we got the website and the mobile app is what's going to get you there. How are you going to find them? How are you going to keep and grow your customers?
Oh, I actually like answered the wrong question. I meant like that through blog posts, articles, website, ad traffic.
So social media.
Yes.
And then you're also going to perhaps reach out to specific conference event planners.
Exactly.
So there may
LinkedIn.
be a direct one-on-one. Another one may be, I don't know. We'll get back to that. How are they going to pay you? Is this a freemium model? Are people going to be able to buy it, get it for free, and then they are then subjected to commercials, advertising? Or is this going to be something where the event planners are going to pay you and then the users are going to get it for free?
I actually have a question. How does LinkedIn make money? Is that just because of premium? That's it?
Well, LinkedIn is a really great model for you to look at. And what I'm going to tell everybody is to find models that are similar to yours and steal the best parts of it.
Probably premium.
And I say steal as in a great artist steal, good artists copy. So I mean steal. That's a great question you need to find out. How does LinkedIn make their money? But premium is probably the answer. So let's say a tiered system where there's premium. Are you going to do where they have advertisers? Are you going to do a freemium?
I honestly don't want to. I feel like that would distract from the actual application if there were ads.
I think that your generation is moving away from the freemium model. They don't want to be advertised, and they're too savvy. They've been advertised to since they were born. Okay. So what are some
I wanted to say there's 2 minutes left, and since maybe a lot of people are celebrating Easter today, I just wanted to say Happy Easter to everyone if you're celebrating it. And we don't want to keep you here for any longer than we scheduled, so we'll wrap up.
Okay, so let's just do quickly. What are your key resources? Computer programmers.
Programmers, designers, yes.
Key activities would be making the app, social media campaigns.
Exactly, marketing.
Potential LinkedIn.
Eventbrite.
Key cost structure, don't worry about that, but that's basically all of this stuff here. And there you have it. There's your first business model canvas.
Thank you.
Now, what I'd like to do is ask the teams to contact me so that we can meet as quickly as possible in the next couple days so that we can get your business model going. And I'd like you to watch the video. I'm going to send it out to you again on how to ask questions. What I'd like you to do is ask first, your first couple interviews, ask if you have the right value proposition. So how do you ask somebody if you have the right value proposition? Ask them questions. Ask them about the last time they went to a conference. What was their experience? You are pulling information from them. You are not pushing your agenda on them. And that's the big problem about qualitative interviewing is people getting in the way of the question and kind of feeding the answer that they want to hear. And so we are going to have to move on individually with the teams so that we can get you going. But hopefully you have all of the content that you need to you certainly have the information. Any questions before we take off?
We reached out to each other. I mean, I'm hoping that Chris and Jeff will join, will work as a team.
Yeah, so that's CruiseX is a really great hub for us. That's where you can actually make your own team. That's where you can both talk to the whole group and talk to individuals. So I highly recommend that we use CruiseX as our communication stream. Anybody have any questions, please send it to me at nada@ucsc.edu. I am going to be reaching out to all of you as well. And those of you that don't have a team, please tell me which team you would want to join and I will connect you with them, or go ahead and connect with them on CruiseX Hub, CruiseX.
Also, I think we didn't go through Vicky's idea, but Vicky, no worries. We'll get to that, and you'll work on your business model canvas and you will wow everyone at next session.
No, it's okay. It was pretty last minute as I got the email, like pretty last minute as well. So it's totally fine.
Great, great. Any questions, Chris? No, you just look great. I love your background. Okay, everyone, have a wonderful day. Thank you so much. Usually this workshop is like twice as long, but anyways, we stuffed up as much as we can in the next hour and a half, and I'm going to reach out to all of you individually. So thank you, thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Easter.
Bye, everyone.
Nice to meet you all.
Yes, exciting. Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Ciao, ciao.